Welcome to DigiDig, where we uncover the past and explore the future.
For the ancient Egyptians, the afterlife was a biological event. If the physical body decayed, the soul was destroyed along with it. Because of this physical requirement, preserving the dead required rigorous scientific intervention. Halting decay was a matter of chemistry, practiced with the same precision as a modern laboratory. The embalming priests managed an intensive industry, keeping the specific mechanics of their chemistry within their own ranks for centuries. Their results are visible thousands of years later. Subjects often retain intact skin, distinct facial structures, and recognizable features. However, the specific formulas used to achieve this state left no surviving manual. Historians have spent decades attempting to reconstruct exactly what the priests were doing. To find the specific ingredients, we have to look past the gold and jewelry of the burial chambers and examine the industrial environment of the underground workshops. In 2016, a rare discovery at the Saqqara necropolis provided a direct look into this process. Excavators found a specialized facility, the Wabet, located 13 meters underground. This depth provided the naturally cool environment needed to process a corpse during the initial stages of the ritual. The preservation began with the extraction of the brain. Priests used long, hooked metal tools to reach through the nasal cavity and remove the tissue piece by piece. Then they made an incision in the abdomen to remove the lungs, liver, stomach, and intestines, leaving the heart in place for the judgment of the soul. These organs were treated with antibacterials and sealed inside 4 specific containers, each dedicated to protective deities. The hollowed body was then buried in natron salt for 40 days. This mineral drew out all moisture from the tissues, effectively starving the bacteria that caused decomposition. The natron successfully dried the physical shell, but the priests relied on a second, more complex stage of chemical application to ensure long-term stability. Inside the Saqqara workshop, researchers found the equipment for the second stage, 31 ceramic vessels. These jars and beakers were functional tools. They were the primary vessels for the resins and oils needed for the final preservation. Many of the pots were found with thick, hardened crusts still lining their interiors. These residues are the only surviving samples of the actual substances used to treat the skin and the linen wrappings. The priests left behind explicit labels on many of the Saqqara jars, written in hieratic and demotic scripts. These labels described the use of each jar. One instructed the priest to wash the body, while another was marked for the head. They also provided the names of the substances, including a term that has long occupied Egyptologists, antiu. These terms remained difficult to define because researchers had to rely on surviving, often vague papyri for translation. To fill the gaps, historians looked to Greek accounts like Herodotus, who described the process centuries after the Saqqara workshop was used. Based on these accounts, scholars translated antiu as single ingredients, typically myrrh or frankincense. That translation was an educated guess. The actual residue inside the jars suggests a much more complex chemical reality. The true recipes remained lost within the ambiguity of the ancient texts. Recovering the priest's work required moving beyond the written record to examine the raw chemicals directly. In 2016, archaeologists excavating a 26th dynasty complex at the Saqqara necropolis unearthed a subterranean embalming workshop located near the Pyramid of Unas. Inside this workspace, they recovered a collection of 31 ceramic vessels, identified through their residue as the functional tools of the embalming trade. The exteriors of these vessels are inscribed with explicit instructions in hieratic and demotic text. These labels tell the ancient embalmer exactly how to use the contents on specific parts of the human body. But the physical reality of the artifacts presents a paradox. To the naked eye, the insides of these bowls and beakers appear completely empty or faintly stained. For decades, philologists had to guess at the chemical reality behind these translated labels. Human eyesight is insufficient here. The true historical record is not written in ink on the outside of the pots. It is physically trapped as invisible amorphous organic residue deep within the microscopic pores of the ceramic matrix itself. Over 2.5 millennia, volatile organic compounds evaporate, and complex lipids undergo severe oxidation and hydrolysis, degrading to the point where standard physical observation yields nothing. To retrieve this lost data, researchers deployed a specific analytical instrument, Gas Chromatography-Mass Spectrometry, or GCMS. GCMS operates as the gold standard of analytical chemistry, capable of taking highly complex, heavily degraded physical mixtures, separating them, and identifying their exact composition at the molecular level. This machine acts as an electrochemical translator. It vaporizes ancient history, converting invisible, degraded matter into precise, undeniable data points. The pipeline begins with a targeted physical extraction. Researchers scrape a microscopic sample, just 1 to 5 milligrams of ceramic dust, from the inner walls of the Saqqara vessels. This dust is subjected to alkaline hydrolysis. The reaction breaks down complex lipid chains trapped in the sample, severing them into individual fatty acids and alcohols. Next comes derivatization. A chemical agent replaces the active hydrogen atoms on the molecules with trimethyl silyl groups. This specific structural modification has a critical physical effect. It significantly lowers the boiling point of the ancient molecules. Without this chemical hack, attempting to heat the 2,500-year-old sample would incinerate the evidence. Derivatization ensures the ancient molecules can safely vaporize into a gas phase for analysis. During the injection phase, the liquid sample is flash vaporized and pushed into the first half of the system. This is the gas chromatographer system. Its core environment is a tightly coiled 30-meter microscopic capillary column. An inert carrier gas, typically helium, acts as the constant physical force that pushes the vaporized chemical mixture through the length of the tube. The sorting mechanism relies on interaction. The inside of the column is coated with a stationary phase. As the molecules move through, they interact with this coating differently based on their individual polarity and molecular weight. Smaller or less polar molecules barely interact with the walls, racing ahead through the column. Heavier or highly polar molecules drag against the stationary phase, lagging behind. The gas chromatographer takes a chaotic clump of ancient matter and forces it into an orderly single-file line. By separating the mixture by time, it ensures each compound exits the tube alone. As the separated molecules exit the GC column, they immediately enter the total vacuum chamber of the mass spectrometer. Here, the molecules face a collision. They are blasted by an electron ionization beam, shattering the intact molecules into a specific pattern of charged fragments. These charged fragments are accelerated through a quadrupole, 4 charged metal rods, filtering them strictly by their mass-to-charge ratio. The software translates this process into a dual-layered readout. The chromatogram charts the separation of the compounds over time, while the mass spectrum plots the specific fragment pattern produced by each molecule. Because the laws of physics dictate that every molecule breaks apart in a unique, predictable way, this fragment pattern provides an absolute chemical fingerprint of the original substance. Researchers took these mass spectra from the Saqqara vessels and compared them against modern chemical databases. The results revealed the antiu paradox. While historical texts long defined antiu as a single raw material like myrrh, the molecular data identifies it as a synthetic blend of animal fats, cedar oil, and juniper. The data showed that the embalmers possessed distinct biochemical protocols. They did not use one generic resin, but instead utilized highly specific, active chemical mixtures for different anatomical targets. For instance, the ceramic bowls explicitly labeled for use on the head were found to contain a precise mixture of castor oil and pistachio resin. The molecular data characterizes these embalmers as applied synthetic chemists. They actively formulated specific antibacterial recipes to halt the biological process of decomposition. But the mass spectrometer output contained another layer of data, the distinct chemical biomarkers of lupain and domarine series triterpenes. These triterpenes signify elemi and damar. While embalmers sourced cedar from the Levant and bitumen from the Dead Sea, elemi and damar do not grow in the Mediterranean. Their origin lies across the Indian Ocean, exclusively in the tropical rainforests of Indonesia and the Philippines. These chemical markers map a direct line from the deep, humid canopies of Southeast Asia straight to a subterranean workroom beneath the Egyptian desert.
This invisible organic residue provides physical proof of a maritime supply chain extending to Southeast Asia. By 600 BCE, the Egyptian mummification industry was generating the economic demand required to sustain trade across 10,000 kilometers of ocean.
Thank you for watching.